G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in the colour orange, playing as the English, we've got Nor, aka Core. And on the east side of the map in the colour purple, playing as the Ottomans. They're back once again. I tell you what, I've been loving the Ottomans lately, and I'm sure you guys have as well. We've got Yui, aka Yui Metal. He's a pretty good player. In fact, both of these players pretty good players. Currently, both of these players inside the top 50, and that's not my top 50. That is the top 50, the official, the top hits 50. That one, the one that's got the music going on it. That's where they are. They're pretty damn impressive. Now, speaking of impressive, if you find this video impressive, make sure you hit the like button. It definitely helps out with the traction of the videos. And of course, if you're not subscribed, make sure you double check that. Oh, have we got a double banger over here? Oh, we do too. Look at this. Look at this. It borders both the gold as well as the stone. Have a look at that. That is beauty. This is something that you learn back in Gold League. They teach you this. They're like, hey, if ever you get a gold vein and a stone outcropping that are even remotely near each other, you just put a single mining camp down. The problem is that sometimes people find like, oh, actually, this one is going to be a border as well. But I'm trying to find a joke one. Yeah, here you go. Sometimes people take that and they learn that when they're in the Bronze League, and they take that gold advice and they're like, oh, yeah, I remember they mentioned if you have a gold vein and a stone outcropping near each other, well, what you can do is you can put a mining camp in between them, and they end up putting it like right in the middle, and they're doing a little bit of extra walking. Let's just put it that way. But I don't think Yui's going to have to do too much extra walking today. Really, really nice. And you might not think this is a big deal, but having this extra 50 wood will reduce the timings of a lot of his buildings. If he's going for a second TC, it will reduce the timing of the second TC. It will increase the speed that he's able to get those military schools in. There's a lot of good things about having this happen. And so it's really nice RNG. So let's get into this matchup a little bit. We're 2 minutes through this video now. Time to talk about the matchup. The matchup, in my opinion, is favorable towards the English. And that's mainly because the English are allowed to get away with whatever they like to do in this matchup. The Ottomans love to open with a military school, but unfortunately in this matchup, they can't do it. And the reason why is because the enemy villagers have got bows. I'm not talking about the ones that you put in your ears. I'm talking about the ones you put on your backs. Because if any spearmen come in, they're going to be very easily able to deal with them with their bows. And worst case scenario, if you can't deal with them with your bow, you can just build your default landmark. There's literally no other landmark that you can make. It's only the council hall, and just make a couple of longbows and you've dealt with it. So it's not really incentivized as the Ottomans to go for that early military school. And as a result, Ottomans kind of have to play a bit more passive, or they have to wait until, say, 6-7 minutes to really get any kind of oomph behind their attack. And 6-7 minutes, that's a lot of time. That's enough time that you can look for a second TC, even a third TC. And I think that's what we're going to see today as Core begins to put down that mining camp on the stone outcropping. So I guess realistically, the reason why I like this matchup as the English is because I'm allowed to boom, and there's nothing you can do about it. Let's see whether Yui's going to be looking to stick a spanner in the works for Core, though, in this game. Age-ups are on the way through. Twin Minaret Madrasa coming in for Yui. No real surprise there. Another one of those landmarks that's kind of considered default at this point. If we had to do a landmark tier list, both of these landmarks, I think, would be S tier. Not because the other landmarks that they've got are bad, but because these landmarks are so good. The council hall in particular, after the change where you can build crossbow out of it, has just become so flexible, right? It is the cornerstone of English early game, mid game. It's really, really important. Ottomans, on the other hand, by having this landmark, it means that you don't have to transition to farms nearly as fast as other civilizations. And when you do, you don't have to build as many farms because you've got plenty of villagers gathering. Not to mention that the extra food that you've got has a faster gather rate on it. If we take a look here, they gather 50% faster. So these 4 villages just became 6 villages. Really, really nice landmark. But the age up does come through, and immediately Wheelbarrow is being researched here for Yui. So he's looking to try and pick up that early economic edge. Only the 10 gold in the bank, so not going to be looking for anything more. Just the wheelbarrow, just sticking with it. And now, we wait. We wait patiently because the second TC is going to be on the way. I would assume this is a second TC just because there's so many villages here. Normally, if you're going for like military schools or something like that, you wouldn't be looking to go so heavily on the stone. But here, almost certainly, we're going to be seeing that. On the other side of the map, though, we can see that Core is doing a pretty decent job of gathering up all of those, sorry about that one. All of those resources. And one thing to note is it looks like he's going to be going here for the, I was going to say the Anomi build, but that's the Chinese build. I'm trying to remember exactly. If I remember correctly, it's the Naomi build. And we do have that second TC. Look at the timing of the second TC before the 5-minute mark. Absolutely perfect. Does a great job with the straggler trees. So the way that this works is you start off and you've got 200 wood. So that's 50, 100, 150, 200. And your straggler trees, you've got 3 of them, each have 150 wood. So you've got 400 wood right here, and 50 wood here, 450. So every single little bit of wood has been used, utilized, and now pumped into his economy. And of course, we see the town center coming down on the stone, which you know means only one thing. It's time for a third TC. So already, I just want to compliment Core because he's playing this matchup perfectly. And when I say perfectly, that means the way I would play it. I will just say I'm obviously not the best player. These guys are a lot better than me, even though I'm Conqueror 3 now. And you know what? It feels good to be able to say I'm Conqueror 3 again. I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't play this season for quite a bit, but I've come back, and as you guys know, I got Conqueror 3 just using the Ottomans and their fast Imperial strategy. Look at this, Core being very cheeky, knowing that the TC wants to come down here. Yui instead just going to be looking to place it down in a bit of an awkward, a little bit more awkward spot, and going to be trying to focus down those deer pretty quickly. One thing you've got to be aware of is you're up against the English here, so I think what Yui might be fearful of is any longbows, and we can see that scout coming back. So he was looking to try and scout out any longbows coming across the map here. Didn't see any of them or many of them, and as a result came back. But I can imagine that's probably why he looked to pull those villages, because when you have those scouts, there's a couple of different routes that you can go with those longbows. So you got to be careful, and you want to try and get that TC up as quickly as possible. But speaking of getting TCs up quickly, take a look over on the other side of the map. We are almost up to our third TC now for Core, and he's handed in all of the stone. And look at the timing on this, before the 7-minute mark. Core, have you been watching any Drongo English guide videos? Because this is literally the build order that I have been doing. And look at that, third TC on the gold. So you don't put the TC on the deer with this build, just because all of your food, you want it to be coming from safe sources, aka farms. And we can see right now, he drops down the mill immediately, begins to ring those farms around the mill, and has himself an absolute baller of a game. This is going perfectly so far for our English player. We'll check in on the other side of the map and see how Yui's doing, though, as military school number 1 is down, and it is coming alive. Starts off with spears. Let's see if he switches it over to Sipahi, which is pretty standard. And we hear that first vizier point coming in. Anatolian Hill's probably not going to be on the cards here. I would imagine he looks to go for the imams. Actually, no. Yeah, Anatolian Hills it is. Just judging by the fact that he didn't have any villagers on gold, because normally at this point, if he's going quickly to castle, you'd want about 6 to 7 villagers on gold, but he's only got the 3 villagers on gold, which kind of signals to me that he's intent on, at the very least, staying feudal for a bit longer than just your second TC fast castle kind of build order that's been popularized. And if anything, I think that this somewhat plays into Core, because it just allows Core to continue doing what he's doing on the other side of the map. I think after this, Core's just going to be going straight into a fast castle. He's got 10 villagers on wood, though. So I would say this is a little bit too many vills on wood. This is me just like nitpicking, right? When I worked out this build order, I was like, okay, how many villagers can I get away with on wood to make sure that I run out of food at the same time as I'm about to age up? Because ideally, that's what you want. You want to age up, or click your age up, and your last sheep ends. And this is a good amount of villagers on wood. The problem is that you're going to have so much wood that all of your villagers transition to farms really quickly, and it means that you're going to have all of these sheep here that never get eaten, because it's always better to have them on farms. So one thing to consider for Corin. Looks like he's going to continue adding villagers over to wood. Doesn't look like he's taking villagers off wood either. So the age up might be a little bit slower, and he's starting to get the upgrades. I'm loving this so far from Core. Everything going perfectly here. A lot of villagers on gold as well. 12 villagers on gold. We'll check back in on the other side, though. It's a very passive opening, I'll say that much. I like the positioning on the blacksmith here, bringing this really close to the TC. We can see he's got the stable at the front. Nothing too crazy happening just yet. Sipahis are in queue at the military school, as you'd expect. No second vizier point just yet. It's going to take some time for it to come in, because not a lot of units being trained. And there's the MIA coming in. Obviously, a lot of villagers on the backside. And now I think the big question is going to be whether we see Imperial Ages coming through from these players. Obviously, the flavor of the month has been Imperial Age. We haven't mentioned it yet in this video. I didn't want to jinx it, but I've got my suspicions that we may see it. You've got a very passive game opening up at the beginning, which means that's going to translate to a lot of economy and big economies. That means big movements on the economic front, and as a result, going to Imperial. Well, it's super easy. I just click a button and that's it. I'm Imperial. Nice little scouting here by Yui. He's looking for any kind of indication as to what Core's plan could be here. Sees a whole bunch of farms and says, okay, it looks like you're just playing pretty standard English here. The 3 TC. How does Yui go about dealing with this? He's got a couple of options, but number one is that you can just go for a very big ball Ottoman playstyle. So that means going for your second military school or third military school, and then the fourth military school when it comes down, because you've got that next vizier point coming through, and almost certainly he will move into that. He's only got the one villager on stone, but a lot of villas on gold still, looking for upgrades as well. Going to open with +1 ranged armor. Oh my god, did he? No, don't tell me he went for the imams. He went for double tier 1. Interesting. Meta comes out as well. He's gone for double tier 1. And one of the things that I don't like about this is it really limits your late game potential. You've still got a really strong late game, but it kind of cuts away from something, because you've only got the 5 vizier points that you can use, right? So you start off with Anatolian Hills, that's fine, and then you go into military campus, okay? And then you've got 2 out of the last tier that you can grab, and then that kind of lets you flex up that last point and say, okay, am I going to go into trade bags for trade, or am I going to go into siege works for siege? And now that he's taken those imams, it kind of limits him, because if he wants to go into that Imperial age point, that being, you know, siege works or trade bags, he's going to have to give up something else on that last tier, whether that's the extra production speed, whether that's the ability to train janissaries or men-at-arms. So there's always what's the word I'm looking for? There's always an opportunity cost associated with each of these points. And it might make sense to go into Anatolian Hills, but here you can see he's still got 10 sheep, right? Like no real effect from Anatolian Hills at this point. And he's able to move out onto deer. So this is the part where I feel like Anatolian Hills isn't as strong in the current meta than what the imams are for the vizier point. I feel like it's really, really strong in the current meta. So we'll keep an eye out and look how he continues to play. At the moment, 18 villages, the difference between these two. Of course, we've got Core beginning to go for that White Tower. No surprises there at all. The White Tower, after the 3 TCs, is a pretty standard build order, I would say. At least standard in my books. It's something that, you know, Divine definitely popularized. He used it quite a bit. And, hold on. He's not making any units. He's literally going naked Imperial Age. On the other side of the... Wait, neither of these guys are making any units. They've just got their passive units. Look, oh my god. Oh my god, it's actually happening. Double fast Imperial. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Who would have thought Drongo being tired of seeing fast Imperials would have been on their bingo cards in 2023? Definitely not Drongo, that's for sure. Look, I'm not tired. What I am, though, is I am excited to see... I'm excited to see an English fast Imperial coming through. He's going to begin training some spears. We'll turn this guy over onto the income per minute. Now, you'll notice it as well in the top left-hand corner. You probably may have not have noticed it, but once I point it out, you will. I've got all of the numbers up here for my GPU and my CPU and that. And that's because I've had a couple of, not even B-sods. My PC has just died on me in the last 24 hours, 2 times in a row. And I hit up one of my mates. I'm like, hey, like these are my symptoms. What's the issue? And he said, I think your GPU might be overheating. And I said, all right, well, we'll just keep an eye on it. So I'm just keeping an eye on it. Seems pretty good at the moment. 64 degrees, not too bad. And for any of you tech heads wondering what's going on, so basically, I'll just be playing Age of Empires or recording a video, and literally my PC just turns off. Both of my screens turn black, and then all of a sudden, my fans go to max. Like, I just hear... It's like, we're going to the moon, baby. That's what happens. And so he was like, well, it definitely seems like it's something to do with that. So who knows exactly. We'll hopefully work it out. I think I'm just going to format. That'll probably fix it. Formatting is like turning it off and on again, except for slightly more technically capable people. And, well, I'm slightly more technically capable than turning it off and on again. But looks like the spears make a good connection. Clean up the first of the Spahi. And... Core just making the units that he needs. And look at this. We got the fast Imperial Berkshire coming down at the 14-minute mark. You couldn't get any faster than this if you tried. I mean, if you tried, you probably could. But it's still a pretty damn quick timing on this. And he puts it down on the gold vein, which is a smart move because we check this gold vein in the back of the base. And you're going to ask yourself, what gold vein? There is no gold vein in the back of the base. He's literally calculated this down to the last drop of gold. And now begins to climb out. This is actually a really good spot because he's got double gold in the back of the base here. Really good spawn, actually, for Core. I'm going to be honest. This is wonderful. And now he's got a solid defensive line. On this top side, the White Tower will look to defend across this front. And down towards the south, the Berkshire Palace will extend its range up towards that White Tower and cover both of these gold veins pretty easily. I think it should. Yeah, it covers both of the gold veins with ease. Now, we do hear another relic being picked up at the moment. That's going to be Yui with 5 out of 5 relics coming through. Impressive amount for him. He's going to be really happy with that. Always feels good to pick up those relics in the late game. The question's going to be whether he actually looks to fight this castle versus Imperial, or whether he goes Imperial himself. We can see plenty of upgrades coming through, so it looks like it might be a castle age, but only men-at-arms coming. Okay, so there's the archers. A lot of units on the field. 25 villager difference at the moment. That's the advantage Core's going to have. I haven't seen a whole bunch of the units that he's gone for. We know that he hasn't picked up enclosures just yet. And now a Springald going to be coming out. Mango Shot comes in, does some big damage on the farms. Not a real high-value target, but I tell you what, if you can take out these farms, you're going to be feeling good about yourself. Springald comes out. He's going to be careful. Not a lot here to defend it. Speaking of defending it, look at this. All of a sudden, the Knights come through. He manages to do a decent job of getting it through, but unfortunately, it does get taken out. Mango still firing off as quickly as it can on that backside. Second Mango joins the party. Spearman just getting absolutely obliterated by those Mangoes on the back line. And now the archers together with the Knights and the Mangoes should be able to clean up this, and it looks like it might be GG here already. Yui just doing a very nice Ottoman cleanup here. You want to try fast Imperial, don't try it against free units, mate. And these are so loud. Can we turn these down? Is there a way to turn these down? Can you guys just hurry up and die already? Sorry, that's not the nicest thing to say to these farms. By the way, I don't know how you can. These vills are still working. They're through the fire and the flames. We carry. Sorry. Okay. We continue. Men-at-arms coming out. He's not yet found the elite upgrade, but he's going into armor cladding here. Definitely going to help him out a bit against these crossbows. You can see the numbers beginning to build, and I love the way that he's focusing down the crossbows with the Springald on the back. We can see more and more crossbows beginning to rally in, and that's going to be an issue for him. Sipahi going to get taken out, covered by the White Tower. You can see the importance of the White Tower here. Offers you that flexibility on the defense, and that's part of the reason why I always advocate for this landmark. I think this landmark is one of the best in the game. I still do, even though we don't see it anywhere near as much as we see the King's Palace. It is one of the best landmarks, just simply because you get to have that flexibility. Do I need siege right now? Yes, I do. Wonderful. Here's siege times 2, baby. That's how fast it comes out. 15 seconds for each of these Springalds. Not your 30 seconds standard that comes out of a siege workshop. You don't have to build a siege workshop. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Enclosures now looking to come through here for Core as well. A big upgrade. He's picked up over on that west side of the map. We do see that sacred site. Another vizier point coming through now for Yui. I suspect he's probably going to be moving into one of those late tier upgrades. We'll check in under the TC and see whether we can spot it. 3 military schools for the moment. Might be thinking about moving into the military campus. Meta's come out. Hasn't gone for the movement speed for the meta. Keep coming up in the middle. And walls beginning to ascend across the map. 2 sacred sites in favor of Yui. 25 villager difference at the moment. 2 TCs still going for Core. Still going to go for Yui as well. So that means it will be maintained at 25 a difference. Or 25... Yeah, 25 villages the difference for the remainder of the game. Until Core hits about 130, 140 villages. And then he'll pause production on vills there because he'll be maxed out. And then that's when Yui will catch up to him. And then eventually, the advantage will be in favor of Yui because he's got 5 relics and Core doesn't. Not to mention that he's also got all of that free production. So there's a lot going on for Imperial late game. You know, often we talk about Imperial for the Ottomans as being kind of weak. It's improved, but they've got a lot going for them realistically in the late game when it comes to resources. Because every other civilization has to pay for their units, whereas the Ottomans, they're getting free units all the time. They're constantly seeing those free units just spawning in. But speaking of free units, we got the age up coming through. It's going to be the Seagate Castle. Have a look at this. Bit of an interesting spot for it on the gold vein in the middle. He's just going to be using it as a keep rather than using it as anything else. So now we're going to have those 2 keeps in the middle of the map, kind of just laying waste to any units that dare come close to them. And speaking of daring to come close, elite men-at-arms, yet to see that elite army tactics upgrade. Trying to siege down this keep, beginning to make their way across the battlefield here. Plenty of men-at-arms, and I think he's just going to be able to overrun Yui. Yui does have the numbers when it comes to crossbows, and you can see him slowly but steadily working his way through this force here. But I'll be honest, I don't think this is the right decision by Core to fight this. It doesn't really feel like you've got... You know, it feels like as the units trickle in, you're just going to keep throwing away units. And that's exactly what's happening right now. A little bit of a mistake, I'd say, from Core, just because Yui's just going to be able to kite this, right? Like, worst case scenario. And his crossbow mass is quite significant. Let's see how it plays out. As we suspected, Springald's now going to come in, look to try and pick up these mangoes on the back. He's having an absolute field day, just picking off these men-at-arms. Is Core buying himself time? Is that what he's looking for? Is there something behind this that he's doing? We can see the farm transition coming through now. How many farms are we talking about? 60 farms for Core. That is a lot. That is a huge amount of farms. Men-at-arms now looking to come in and reinforce these Springalds. Yet to get their roller shutter trigger upgrade. We see the upgrade starting to roll in, though. Network of citadels on the way in as well. Bombard has joined the party. And these crossbows, this is what we need to do or deal with right now. We need a mango out to deal with this. We need something to deal with this because, unfortunately, these are just wrecking havoc. Oh, the great bombarding placements come through. Have we seen it on the front keep? We haven't just yet. I like it on the Seagate Castle. Makes a lot of sense because then if you lose the Seagate Castle, you can repair it. It comes back and voila, you've got yourself another great bombard emplacement. All right, well, crossbow mass is still a little bit troublesome to deal with. Men-at-arms coming out from Core. He's making only men-at-arms at this point. Men-at-arms and siege, and a single priest on the field. Is that what they're called? They're called priests. Let me check. Monk. Why would I say priest? I don't know why. Anyway, sometimes I wonder what I'm thinking. So, looks like the central sacred site is under threat. Bombard's done a decent job of cleaning out all the infrastructure here, but the crossbow numbers are still quite thick. Yui doing a decent job with that Imperial Age. The great bombard emplacement comes in. He says, "You shall not pass." Let's see how much damage gets done. God, he does some damage. He one-shot a men-at-arms and took out two of the guys next to him. Cleans it up completely. And now Yui goes for a different type of fast Imperial. I mean, we've seen fast Imperials all week, all month. That have just, well, I say all week, all month. I mean, for me, it's the 8th of October. So yeah, we've seen it all week and the day before the week begun. It's not a whole lot of days so far in this month. What are we doing out here, Mr. Monk? We're just going for some heals. All right, I respect it. Looks like Bombard will go down. Not enough spearmen here to assist. Villagers going to be pulling out the bows as well. But we've been seeing Istanbul observatories every single game that the Ottomans have been going fast Imperial. Today, the Seagate Castle comes in and says, actually, I'm a landmark as well, sir. Please pick me. And that's exactly what happens. And now Core struggling with the Sipahi coming back here. He's trying to tee off towards them with the villagers. Doesn't have any ranged upgrade. And as a result, he's doing barely any damage. Men-at-arms now going to come out. Sipahi's struggling. Springald's looking to come back here. He doesn't have that roller shutter trigger upgrade just yet either. Still no roller shutter trigger upgrade. I think because he doesn't have the siege workshop down. You need that siege workshop to get the upgrade. Yeah, no siege workshop just yet for Core. He's just making it out of the White Tower. And now in the front. There's so much production here for Core. I'm loving it. Men-at-arms still struggling. I've got no idea how Core is doing this against just a crossbow mass. And they've got elite upgrades now as well. So you're kind of wild doing this just with only men-at-arms. And he's still making only men-at-arms at this point. 11 men-at-arms. Does he not know that any other unit exists at this point? He's trying to win this game with only... Is this the... He's got to be like memeing at this point. This is the no men-at-arm or the only men-at-arm challenge? Is that what's happening? Janissary's joining the fray at the back. Springald's to the front. Oh, Core. I don't know about this. 23 minutes in. Core starting to look a little bit worrisome. He was pushing back in the middle there with the English fast imp. But I've got to remark on how well Yui was able to handle the fast Imperial coming out from Core. I mean, to be fair, Core didn't make any units. And Yui attacked into it from the top side. But at this point in the game, it almost feels like it's over. Core's down to 29 military units. And they're only men-at-arms. He's beginning to build the mass up. Elite army tactics is through. He's got a couple of the armor upgrades, a couple of the melee upgrades as well. But this mass, how do you deal with this mass? This constant mass. Core now under pressure. Keep going to be coming up. Emplacements? Emplacements. I was going to say, where are the emplacements right here? I want to see like a Springald emplacement or something. The damage that's being done here is just not enough. We need something to defend against this. And now Sacred Site over on that west side is going to be neutralized. Could be that Yui is looking for a Sacred Victory. It's going to be tough when you've got this Sacred Site behind enemy lines. I feel like a Sacred Victory on this map is like one of those things that happens 0.001% of the time. And when it does happen, it's only because the guy who's doing it is just like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to leave you. And he marks up the entire map with just keeps. He dots it. He litters it with keeps. Speaking of being littered with keeps, another keep goes up for Core on this south side, securing the large gold vein. Can we just take a look at this, how close this gold vein is to Yui's base compared to how close this one is to Core's base? Feels like it's not the fairest of things. Springald emplacement. Never mind, it's a real Springald. I'm a real boy. It's a real Springald. Manages to take out the... I think it was a mango that he took out, but did some damage. And now we kind of just reset back to it. I mean, this is that classic English defense where it's so hard to kill the English because of all the bonuses that they have. They've got... I mean, if we talk about it from a feudal perspective, there's obviously a huge amount, but at the Imperial Age, the main thing that's driving this is the network of citadels. Well, it says network of castles, but he's got the upgrade. It's the network of citadels. The extra attack speed, together with how close his production buildings are to the front line, means that when any unit dies, not only does it come back quickly, but it comes back with a vengeance. It attacks like a maniac because of that attack speed bonus. And that makes it really difficult to push in and finish off these English players. And we can see that Core still manages to keep his head above water. We're at that stage of the game now where the Imperial Age has begun to develop. And now Yui's at max population as well. 200 out of 200 versus 195 out of 200. Springlord's beginning to move forward. Mango's going to be able to take their shots. Big damage comes through. Huge amount of damage onto those men-at-arms. You might not think, oh, Mangonels versus men-at-arms. Yeah, bro, it was 3 Mangonels against men-at-arms. That's a lot. Keep over on that west side. Going to look to try and defend against the Sipahi raid. Men-at-arms continuing to move forward. And now we enter this interesting stage of the game where men-at-arms become more effective against crossbows the more that there are. So it's weird how it seesaws, but basically, if you've got like 4 men-at-arms versus 4 crossbows, the men-at-arms are better. If you've got, say, 14 crossbows against 14 men-at-arms, the crossbows are better. But if you've got 40 men-at-arms against 40 crossbows, still the crossbows are better, but you have to micro it. That's the problem. If you don't micro, you're just going to get absolutely wiped out. But look at the great bombard damage. The emplacement comes through, does a huge amount of damage. Looks like we got ourselves a wolf getting involved on the action. Yui, how long have you been out here for, mate? This is looking painful. A lot of siege coming in, though. Mangonels very, very close to the front line here. Great bombard just picking off these men-at-arms. And more units rallying out. Look at the numbers. He's making only men-at-arms. I think we start to see a couple of spears being mixed in here. He's struggling with the Sipahi. They picked up their elite upgrades. Got that nice little golden hat on the top. Look at that. Look at that hat. They're half farmer, half spearman. 100% man, baby. And now, overwhelming his opponent here. Yui's starting to struggle. He's like, wait, oh, I gotta make units? Oh, okay, sure. Upgrades coming through. We see siege works on the way here as well. What's interesting is that he hasn't gone into great bombards yet. Normally, you would see like an Ottoman player kind of flex into those. Oh, speaking of flexing into those, I tell you what, even though we've covered the Ottomans and they're doing really well lately, the Ottoman trolls are still posting crazy amounts. And I do actually think they might be bots, just because like they will post a comment and it will be like 6 minutes old and it's got 17 likes. And I'm like, bro, nobody's getting 17 likes. Like there's not 17 people watching my videos that quickly, let alone liking your one specific comment that you just posted. Like it's clearly a bot. And they all happen at the same time. There's like 4 or 5 different accounts that all post some sort of Ottoman propaganda. Oh God, it's so funny. But what can you do? Look, there are a couple of Turkish guys. They're not happy with the representation of the strength of the Ottoman civilization. I saw another great comment. It was like, Drongo, come to Turkey. Anyone will tell you that the Ottomans are underpowered. But yeah, let me go. I'll get the expert's opinion on it in Turkey. That sounds perfect. And look at this. We got a setup right here for some Imperial Age trade by the looks of it. I don't think we've got trade bags, or at least I don't know if we've got trade bags at this point. And to be quite honest, I'm too scared to ask that question. But Great Bombard is out now. Oh, it's a fire camp. Oh my lord. I thought it was a men-at-arms on fire. It's a campfire, not a fire camp. I forgot that they had this ability. Places a campfire. Okay. Places a campfire, which increases sight range of nearby units by 30%. There you go, boys. That's a good land. Oh gosh. That's a good skill. I'm glad that the English have got that skill. Look, I kind of liked where they were going initially, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to get much use. The campfire. We could put that on the thumbnail. Overpowered. Insane. Crazy campfire strategy. We're not going to do it though. We're not going to do it. We don't want to troll too much. I know you guys don't like getting trolled. You get trolled enough by the Ottoman bots. Speaking of Ottomans though, Yui's starting to... Okay, can we just talk about the things that we've got going on in this late game? So number one is you've got relatively close village accounts, but Yui's got about 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that region, more military. And as a result, that translates to a slightly bigger army, which translates to slightly bigger bombards. taking out that front line of men-at-arms. I say front line of men-at-arms, they are literally the only line. There's just a giant line of men-at-arms here. 30 minutes into this game, and Core is still looking for the men-at-only challenge. It is happening. It is the Giga Chad. How is this man top 50 making only men-at-arms? He gets completely shredded. And you got to say that the finishing touch on the cake has got to be those Great Bombards. They do a wonderful job here. And now Core pumping out those units continually. Look at them hitting the front line. Needs those Great Bombards to focus down these outposts. These extra attack speed that these men-at-arms are getting. It's going to continue to rip through these front line of Sipahis. But big things the Ottomans have got going for them at this point. Number one, we've got 5 relics in the bag back here. These guys have got their tithe barns in, so they're producing a whole bunch of gold. And lots of other resources as well. Bombards! 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 No, 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 no. Don't fall asleep at the wheels. Not today. Janissaries, I don't think we see any. There's a couple in here. 8 Janissaries. They need to be repairing right now. Vil's going to get pulled instead. Janissaries, you guys keep attacking. So number one is we've got relics on the side of the Ottomans. Number 2 is we've got free units on the side of the Ottomans. We've got all of those free units coming in. The Great Bombards, they're not that free. They're kind of expensive. It takes a long time for them to come out. How is Core pushing? How is he holding at this front? I feel like he's holding, but he's throwing away resources. He's still max pop, and he's still got money. How is he doing this? You know that the Ottoman bots are going to be like, yeah, Ottomans are so trash that you can make only men-at-arms and you can beat them. That's what the Ottoman bots are going to say. Big shots coming out from the Great Bombard. Did you see the damage it did to the guy standing next? He's literally got 0 health. Somehow he manages to still walk. Yep, that'll happen. That will happen. Great Bombards, they do some damage. We'll say that much. Have a look at these shots. Yo, I'm sorry, but you Great Bombard haters out there, how can you hate against this unit now? This unit is legit. And he's not even buffing it up, man. Like, he could have siege works right here. He's got the extra attack speed. No, he doesn't even have the extra attack speed. It's on the meta's on ranged armor at this point in the game. Wait, he's on ranged armor? Bonus ranged armor? You're against 100% men-at-arms! Don't do me like this. You guys are top 50 players. Come off it. Oh, my Lord. I can't believe what we're witnessing here. One guy making only men-at-arms and the other guy with ranged armor. Are you serious? How long have you been on ranged armor? This whole game he's made nothing but melee units. Oh, my. I'm actually going crazy this game. This is ludicrous how silly this game is getting. And at this point, Core is still just making only melee units. It's literally the melee unit challenge. I can't believe we're casting this game. Why are we casting this game? And why hasn't Yui finished this game yet? More units continuing to come through. He's got plenty of production back here as well. Look at all the siege workshops. About 4 or 5 siege workshops back here. Plenty of units to go. Upgrades now coming through from the university. And it's a slow and methodical crawl, but these men-at-arms are unironically doing work on the front. Could you imagine if there were just like a couple of units on the back to bolster them? Like hand cannoneers with all this extra gold that you've got? Wouldn't it just be lovely? Wouldn't it just be lovely? But the numbers are starting to drop here for Core. We can see he's down to 170, 33 minutes into this game. 170 pop. Struggling to keep his head above water. He's getting picked off, and this is the trouble, right? When you get to this point where your units are trickling in one by one and you don't have anything on the front line, they're just going to get picked off. And that's what's happening right now, and that continues to drop him down. And as he's doing that, he's spending resources. So what he needs to do is fall back with this army, bring it back towards his position, and then build that army number up. And that's exactly what it looks like we see him doing now. Going to bring that army back. We'll allow him some time just to build it up. Look at the White Tower just pumping out units nonstop. This should be down to 11 seconds. It is. So he's got that military academy in. And now on the south side, oh my God, there's more farms coming up. How many farms have we got right here? 4 Core. Just 108 farms. He's a man who likes to make farms. And I think that's why we're seeing the men-at-arms, because there's a meme to this strategy, but there's also an element of, like, facts to this strategy. And I think what that is if you just go for 1,000 farms, you can just make men-at-arms, because you get the gold from the farms. And that allows you to make the men-at-arms, because they cost so little gold. Springold's coming forward. He's looking to try and pick them off. Not going to be able to find those shots on the Great Bombard as they do survive. Raboldaquin also joining the party against the men-at-arms. That's, I tell you what, he's going to rack up some kills if he's able to survive longer than 2 seconds. Springold's continuing to fire down. Numbers are looking pretty good here for Core. More battering rams coming in, looking to clean it up. Men-at-arm numbers have rebuilt, and look at the income that's coming through right now for Core. Plenty of resources in the bank. He's picked up all of the upgrades. Everything's through. Plus 1, plus 2s, and plus 3s on everything. And now, as long as he's got villagers, how many villas does he have? He's got 79 villagers on food. It's not bad. It's not bad. And slowly but steadily, the men-at-arms begin to overwhelm the enemy army. What's he got? Oh, he's finally pushed it over to attack speed. So now these Great Bombards have that extra attack speed. Reboldequin, Randy, we're watching. Springalds moving up, trying to find the shot. Not going to be able to do it. Down on that south side. More metas, or more Sipahi breaking their way through. It has been so back and forth this game in the middle. I've never felt like Kor's been on top 100%. I feel like Kor's been defending the whole time and getting his head from underneath the water. And now it looks like he's going to be in a bit of a tough spot. The Sipahi trying to make their way through. Keep in mind the men-at-arms obviously don't do particularly well against the cavalry. And somehow he's held on for 35 minutes in this game against a relentless Ottoman play coming through from Yui. Not a lot of resources stacked up for Yui either. That's important to note. Now the Springalds teeing off towards the battering rams. These guys have got that extra health coming in. Those Springalds firing so damn fast. Keep in mind they've got that network of citadels bonus. Together with the roller shutter triggers means that they are just spamming out those shots. Cannon emplacement going to come through. Or is it? No, it's the Great Bombard emplacement. No, actually, I take it back. It is the cannon emplacement. You can't get the Great Bombard emplacement on outposts. Only on keeps and landmarks. Springald, got to be careful. It looks like it might go down here. Definitely going to go down. There are so many Sipahi surrounding. He's realized he's got a way through. If he can take out the Springalds, he can get that Reboldequin in. And once the Reboldequin's in, it should be able to clean up the front line. He's had real trouble dealing with this melee composition from Kor this whole time. But now the Reboldequin comes out, lights up that front line. The newly buffed Reboldequin, Randy, he comes off the top rope. Bombard's helping him out, and he just absolutely obliterates the front line completely. Springalds moving their way up. A couple of villagers here to repair it as well. Looking for shots onto that Reboldequin. Not able to take it out. The Springalds have to move back. And Randy lives another day. I think he got about 3 or 4 kills there. We're right on board with Randy once again when he gets a little bit closer to the action. More and more units breaking into the base of Kor. 37 minutes into this game. I would say that he feels overwhelmed, but honestly, this has been like Kor's default for the last 20 minutes of this game. He has just been under threat from this Ottoman player since like the 15th minute. It has just been non-stop. And now, I guess we've got the answer to the question, you know, which Imperial Age is stronger? Maybe not. I think Kor's memeing. I think Kor's definitely memeing here. He's only making men-at-arms. And you just know the Ottoman bots are going to point that out. It's like, oh, the Ottomans are so weak. They can only beat guys in Imperial Age that make men-at-arms only. It's like, yes, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. Reboldequin, a sad defeat right there. Unfortunately, does go down. Cannon emplacement still helping out. Yui with a decent map control here. Trade has begun. He's got 60 gold coming in for each of these trades. Many keeps along the line. Not really a single keep. Ideally, you'd love to see just a couple more keeps to buff up that movement speed, but I don't think it's going to matter. The numbers are looking good. Kor's down once again to 157 population. He's lost a fair few villagers as well. Still training vills, though, which is important. Up to 113 villagers. Great Bombard's moving in, looking for some shots here. We'll find it, and good game gets called. Kor gonna tap out right there, ladies and gentlemen. An absolute bloodbath this game. A bit of a meme, a bit of a dream, but the Ottomans come out on top once again in this fast Imperial face-off. Fellas, make sure you check out these creators, or at least Kor. I'll leave a link in the description. And make sure you pre-order the Sultan's Ascent. If you haven't already, it's absolutely amazing. You're gonna love it. We'll catch you guys in the next one.